With 83 million inhabitants, Germany is the largest democracy in the European Union, and one of the largest in the world. The country's electoral system is pretty complicated, so in this video, we want to help provide a better understanding of how Germans exercise their foremost democratic right. How do they vote? Well, voting in Germany can be as easy as a weekend stroll, as elections take place on, you guessed it, weekends. Many Germans don't even leave their house to vote on election day. Instead, around 1 in 3 Germans mail in their ballots. These factors might explain why 76% of German voters cast their ballots in the 2017 federal election. For comparison, a record number of Americans, 67%, went to the polls to vote in the 2020 presidential election. In fact, Germany's voter participation rate puts it in the top 15 worldwide. In the US, voters typically cast their ballots in national elections every 4 years in their district, such as a library or school building, and it's pretty much the same in Germany. Speaking of districts, there are 299 proportional voting districts from the North Sea to the Alps, and from the Black Forest to Berlin. These districts are formed by an independent review of the latest census. The word independent is important in order to avoid partisan gerrymandering or redistricting to favor one party, which is common in the United States and often suppresses voter participation. While gerrymandering is not an issue in Germany, controversies do remain. For example, Germany's 10 million foreign residents are not allowed to vote in national elections. This is common in most countries. However, until the year 2000, gaining German citizenship was only possible for ethnic Germans. This marginalized minorities like the well-established Turkish, Polish, and Balkan communities, which have called Germany home for decades. Speaking of status and identification, the German law requires citizens to possess either a national identity card or passport, and they also must register with local government offices. As a result, eligible voters automatically receive a voting card ahead of election day, simplifying the process by which they ultimately cast their ballot. Ah, the German ballot. It looks a lot different than the one we see in the United States. When Germans go to the ballot box for a parliamentary election, they cast 2 votes. One vote is for a candidate from their respective district. The second vote is for a political party. These 2 votes impact the composition of the Bundestag, with a base of 598 seats. The first vote determines who will fill the first 299 seats, and the second vote determines the overall percentage of seats a party receives. Interestingly, the second vote matters most. A party has to overcome a 5% hurdle, or win 3 constituencies to claim seats. The total number of seats a party gains is based on the percentage of the vote received in the election. If a party gets 30% of the vote, it gets 30% of the seats. Besides the 299 directly elected representatives, the remaining members of the Bundestag are pulled from lists that the political parties assemble before the election. If you're a candidate, the higher the percentage of votes your party receives, the better your chances are that your name will be called to take a seat in the main hall of the Reichstag. Ultimately, to make sure that representation is proportional, extra seats, called overhang, are added, expanding the overall size of the Bundestag. Once the dust settles, and each party knows how big its piece of the parliament pie will be, it's pretty much certain that none of them will wake up the morning after election day to find out they won over half of the pie, or over 50% of the 598 seats. So, what happens when no single party achieves a governing majority? Well, someone wise once said that democracy is an act, one that doesn't end on election day. And so it goes in Germany. It's the day after election day when things get interesting, and the process of building a government begins.